Hello, and thank you for attending this evening. My name is Nell Clausen, and I am the Voter Services Chair of the local league of the League of Women Voters US, a national nonpartisan nonprofit organization whose purpose is to promote the informed and active participation of citizens in government. We welcome both men and women. I want to underscore the primary tenet of our organization, nonpartisanship. In the 102 years since we were established, we have never endorsed or opposed a candidate or political party at any level of government. We are ardent about positions, not people. You may wonder why we are continuing to host candidate forums via Zoom rather than in person. As you may be aware, once again, rates of COVID cases are increasing. In addition, the League of Women Voters recorded increased citizen participation in candidate forums when they moved from in-person to Zoom. In some cases, audiences were up 300% of our average in-person numbers. We are truly grateful and impressed by those of you who are participating in tonight's forum, to the candidates for your willingness and courage to run for office, to the audience for your involvement in the democratic process, and to the local league members who expend a great deal of time and energy to make these forums fair and informative. I hope you enjoyed the slideshow with important information about the league. If you missed it, please note it will run again at the end of the forum for about 5 minutes. With that, I'd like to introduce Bonnie. She is our timer this evening. She's going to explain how the timing is going to work. Bonnie?
Hello, I'm Bonnie, your timer for tonight's forum. Here's a demonstration on how the timing will work. I'll be alternating between the timer screen and a countdown video screen. After the moderator asks a question, each candidate will have the same amount of time to respond. Once a candidate begins speaking, I'll start the countdown timer. The timer begins with a purple background, and when there are 15 seconds remaining, the background turns yellow. And when the time is up, the background is red and the word stop appears. Candidates may finish their sentence, but then need to stop. Thank you for staying within our time limits. And now back to Norma.
Okay, thank you, and welcome to the second half of our forum. The first half we heard from the 2 Port Commissioner candidates, and now we're moving to the Sequim City Council. And we're pleased to announce that we have 6 candidates that are participating tonight. For position 1, it's Kathy Downer and William Armacost. Position 2, Jim Black and Dan Butler. Position 6, Harmony Rudder and Patrick Day. All the terms of offices is 4 years. So before we start, we'll just clarify what are the responsibilities of a city council member. City council members serve as the legislative branch and have several key roles and responsibilities. Includes passing laws, establishing policies, passing a budget, hiring the city manager, conducting hearings. They are accountable to the community for their actions. So you, the community, are their boss. So I want to thank all 6 of you for being willing to run. And the fact that each position has a challenger is the ultimate of democracy, where people get to choose. And you've heard the instructions. So what we're going to do is start off. Everybody will have 90 seconds to answer, to do both your introduction and your summary, and 90 seconds to answer each question. And we'll be rotating the order that people answer the questions. So we're going to, in your self-introductions, if you could give us a resume of your educational and experience and why you're running for city council. So with that being said, we're going to start out, number 1, with Kathy Downer in position 1, and you'll be first.
Hello, can you hear me?
Well, I can't see
Kathy
you.
Downer.
Can you, do you have your audio? I mean, do you have your video on?
Now it is.
Somehow, Sarah, we have the timer up, but we don't have Kathy. So can
It
you?
just takes a second. If they don't have their video on, it takes a second.
Okay.
So we should see her now.
Now we can see you. Okay, Kathy, go ahead.
Hi, is this my whole 90 seconds?
Yes, you get 90 seconds for your introduction.
This is Kathy Downer, and I'm presently on the Sequim City Council position number 2, but I'm running for Sequim City Council position number 1. Even though our seats are nonpartisan, I really feel like we should not let someone who has QAnon ideologies run unopposed. Mr. Armacost was appointed to council, and then he ran unopposed, and now Sequim has a choice in the matter. Council is elected to make evidence-based decisions about our budgets, our city contracts, and what the citizens say they need. Our citizens need jobs like light manufacturing, housing, and more broadband. Teachers, medical staff, and emergency responders need attainable housing to stay in the community. We need to be more open-minded about social justice and not demonize homeless people. Affordable housing and homeless sheltering are two separate issues with two separate solutions. And while we're at it, we need to lobby Olympia to let us pass school levies and bonds without a supermajority, just a majority. If you have an educated community, you have a more enjoyable community, and people can contribute more to the city of Sequim. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy. And next up, we have William Armacost. Well, you're on for 90 seconds.
I'm a 40-year resident, a father, and a grandfather, devoted to maintaining Sequim as a great place to raise a family, start a small business, or enjoy a satisfying retirement. An independent business owner, I've experienced firsthand how city government can help or impede small businesses. When mayor, I navigated Sequim through the COVID-19 pandemic. We created the Rapid Relief Small Business Grant Program that provided over $500,000, which kept our local business community afloat. We froze utility rates and removed restrictions for senior low-income utility discounts. We supported Jamestown's column negotiating sewer service for their new hotel. After the past 4 years, our city is in a better place than ever. Our hiring of City Manager Hewish has been a game changer. He applied his business background to update our systems, providing tools for staff to perform at a higher level of efficiency while maintaining total transparency. Through his citizen fact sheets, he improved citizen communication, an important goal of mine in office. I am passionate about giving back to the community by continuing to serve on City Council. My extensive business experience, common sense strategic skills, and commitment to collaborative solutions will continue to make our community thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and next we have, let me see, I got this straight. We have Jim Black and Dan Butler in position 2. So Jim, if you would start first, giving us 90 seconds of your background, your experience, and why you're running for City Council.
Thanks. I'm Jim Black, and Sequim is a great town. My wife and I are retired and moved here 4 years ago from the Seattle area, and we love it here. I'm running for City Council because I'm concerned about public safety, affordable workforce housing, and job growth. Sequim is a growing destination, and with that growth, we're seeing concerning signs of change for the worst, including tent encampments, stores locking up their merchandise, and people living on the streets. I worked in downtown Seattle for 22 years, and I've seen where the drug addiction and mental illness crisis lead. Downtown homeless shelters, home share schemes directed at the elderly, shuttered businesses, and fewer jobs. We have to do better than Seattle, Portland, and San Francisco. Police need to enforce our laws. The city needs to offer full pathways to recovery for our local citizens. And those pathways have to include training and getting people back to work. I spent my career as a software engineer and an IT manager. I know how successful teams design and implement comprehensive solutions. These are the skills I will bring to the City Council. I'll fight to prevent big city problems from becoming ours. So please vote Jim for Sequim in November. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And next up is Dan Butler, and you also have 90 seconds to give us some background for your experience, education, and why you're running for city council. You're on.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to participate in the League of Women Voters Candidate Forum. My name is Dan Butler. I'm running for City Council Position 2. Position 2 has been held by Councilwoman Downer, and she's moved over to run for Position 1 in order to give the Sequim voters a choice in who will represent them in that seat. My wife and I decided to settle in Sequim, the place we plan to live out the rest of our lives following a career spent working overseas. We're both born and raised in the Pacific Northwest. I graduated with a BS in Business Administration from Portland State University. We have 2 remarkable adult children and 3 beautiful grandchildren. I'm running for Sequim City Council because I'm committed to being of service. Through my work on the Sequim Planning Commission, I've become familiar with the challenges and the opportunities we have as a city. It has been my pleasure to get to know the staff and the dedicated professionals that they are that keep our city services running day to day. While it'd be easier to sit back and relax as we move into retirement, I'm wired to look for ways to be of service. It's been humbling to receive so much support from the community for my campaign. Sequim's people depend on council members who are committed to ethical conduct, integrity, and transparency. We need council members who value diverse perspectives, consider them, and seek consensus. We want to thrive and grow responsibly while considering those among us who have less. These are the values I bring to City Council Position 2, and I ask for your vote.
Thank you. And next are the 2 candidates for Position 6. So first we'll hear from Harmony. And Harmony, same thing, 90-second summary for your background and why you're running for City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Norma. Good evening, Sequim, and good evening, fellow candidates. My name is Harmony Rudder, and I'm running for Sequim City Council Position 6. I care deeply about the Pacific Northwest because I have lived here in the Pacific Northwest for all but 4 years of the nearly 4 decades that I have been on planet Earth. I am very lucky to be here on the Olympic Peninsula. I've lived in Clallam for the last 4 years, and before that it was Kitsap County. I really have fond memories of spending time on the Olympic Peninsula with my family as a child, and and now I'm really grateful that my sweetheart Dan Parrish, not Dan Butler, and I are raising our 2 kids here on the Olympic Peninsula, and also sharing the joys of the beauty that we all cherish here. I graduated from Pacific Lutheran University in 2008. I have a Bachelor of Arts. While I was at PLU, I was involved in the vocal music program, student government, and the College of Liberal Studies in the departments of both economics and Hispanic and Latino studies. Over my career, I've been involved in nonprofit, education, and private sector projects. I care deeply about our natural resources and safeguarding what we all enjoy. I'm committed to bringing sustainable development to our community, and I would love for your vote. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And the final candidate in this Position 6 is Patrick Day. And Patrick, you also have 90 seconds to give us your background and experience and why you're running for City Council. You're on mute. You need
Am I now?
Now you're okay. Yeah.
Okay. First and foremost, I'd like to say hello to all the candidates and thank you for your running for office. I do know and understand how hard this is. My experience is prior military, then I went into law enforcement, retired out of 27 years as a correctional officer. In that time, I was a trustee for our benefit trust, which was $1 billion trust. Did that for 18 years, and I was a union activist, all the way from just a lonely job steward all the way up to chapter president. Some of the experiences I got on that trust was running budgets, managing money, dealing with people. I think we moved up here to Sequim. I was born here in Washington, but when I retired out of law enforcement, me and my wife, who's a nurse, moved up here. We love the area. We think it's a beautiful area. We want to help maintain that. I think there's a lot of issues we do need to deal with. Workforce housing has to be one of the top issues, and of course, public safety, because that's what I come from. But we need to work together. One of the most disturbing things I've found about this race so far is it has become one of the most partisan, nonpartisan races I've ever seen. And I'm hoping to bring some civility to that. I talked with Ms. Harmony. I know she will too. So I do appreciate your time, and I appreciate your vote for me on this next election. Thank you.
Thank you. So now when we go into the questions, I'm from Port Angeles, so it looks like there's a lot going on in Sequim, given all the questions that were submitted. So some of the questions have two parts. And because there are 6 people that will be answering the questions, if you are like number 4 or 5 down and you've forgotten what the question is, please feel free to ask me to repeat it, because it may get lost in the weeds. So we're going to start out with William Armacost as the first person, and then after that it'll be Kathy Downer, and then Jim Black, and then I'll announce the others as we go. So the first question is, the City Council has made some changes to help ease the affordable/workforce housing crisis. So it's a 2-part question. One is, do you support some or all of the efforts that have already been taken by the City Council? And 2, what are at least 2 specific additional affordable housing measures that you would champion if you're elected to the City Council? So Mr. Armacost, you're on first. You have 90 seconds.
Thank you. Yes, I totally support the opportunity that we can find a way to make the affordable housing a reality. For those of you that have been paying attention to our council meetings, we have in the past recently changed zoning to allow multifamily residents into the proposed locations that Habitat is hoping to put their project. We also have just recently gained an application for a CHIP funds, which is a program that is unique that the city as a municipality can apply for to absorb the general facility charge, water, sewer, and stormwater utilities. We were fortunate enough to have the opportunity to have a grant specialist on staff of the city who was able to expedite the application process of getting both Habitat information as well as their secured funding for both Mr. Kimmler, our representative, as well as the land that they have secured. I am totally committed to moving that forward. The second part of the question, if you could repeat that quickly.
Is what are 2 specific additional affordable housing measures that you would like to see happen?
One of the things, and our staff presented in our workshop, an opportunity to create hard to imagine, but I'm lost for words here, a monetary amount that we can offer up to help. If we cannot get the CHIP award grant, we're looking at having the opportunity that we can give them a fixed amount of a pledge to help see this project be completed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Armacost. If you have some other thoughts, you can weave them into the next questions. So 90 seconds goes fast. Okay, Kathy Downer is next. Do you want me to repeat the question? You're muted.
How's that?
Better. Okay.
Thank you.
Do you want me to repeat the question?
Would you please? Thank you.
Sure. So the question is, do you support some or all of the efforts that have already been made by the City Council to create some affordable workforce housing? And second part of the question is, to try and enunciate 2 specific additional affordable housing measures that you would champion if you were on the council?
Well, since I have spearheaded the effort on affordable housing, I certainly support my own efforts. We have, in addition to changing the zoning, which took a year, we've updated a lot with the accessory dwelling units, changed the zoning, and I have asked that the council declare the lack of affordable housing an emergency, which Councilor Armacost voted against. Next week, we are going to vote on a 50% reduction of the park impact fees to try to entice developers to come to Sequim and build either apartment buildings or more workforce affordable housing. When we did the straw vote on the decrease of the park impact fees just for affordable workforce housing, Councillor Armacost voted against that also. I think that we can work hand in hand with Habitat for Humanity or anyone from the Department of Commerce on HUD housing. We do need both rentals and home ownership in the city of Sequim. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and Jim Black, you're up next, and then you'll be followed by Dan Butler. Do you want me to repeat the question?
No, I've got it.
All right.
I
You're
believe the existing, and I have to admit, I don't know all the things that the city council has currently done about affordable housing, but I do support Habitat, and we do need affordable housing because the housing is too expensive for people here when the same rents are being charged in Seattle and Issaquah, and the base of salaries to afford that is just not good. I believe that in addition to what's been done, I think zoning and permitting needs to be looked at going forward, because that's what the city does. The city doesn't build rentals, doesn't build housing. I also think that in the county, we should be working with the county as well to find ways to and work with contractors and the county to maybe build housing outside the city of Sequim limits. I mean, this is a small area on the peninsula, and people don't necessarily have to live in Sequim, and they can commute to work, and we can try to work out options there. I'm all for multifamily housing, and I think that would help support the needs that we have. That's
Thank
it.
you. So next will be Dan Butler, followed by Harmony, and then Patrick. So Dan, do you want the question repeated?
No, thank you. I think I'm okay. And one of the advantages of being down lower on the list is that most of everything has already been said. But yes, I do support the initiative that the city council has taken recently, and believe that that good work needs to continue. Clearly, many of us are privileged to afford the sort of houses that attract developers, and that's not a bad thing. But we need to speak with those same developers and ask what it could be that the city could do to incentivize their development of workforce housing. An idea that or that initiative that has not been mentioned yet, and all the ones that have been mentioned are valuable, is to expand the use of the land trust initiative. This is similar to the work that Habitat is doing, where the land that houses are built on have deed restrictions that allow people to build equity and own their own home. And when it comes time for them to move on, for the next person to have an opportunity to enter into a house that is affordable for them.
Thank you. And next, Harmony, do you want the question repeated?
No, thank you, Norma. I think I'm ready to go into this one. Thank you so much, Sequim voters, for bringing this question to us. This is a huge issue that is facing our community. I look forward to continuing to collaborate with the person who's I've been working very closely with. I'm running in Lowell Rathbun's position, and Lowell Rathbun has been an excellent mentor for me as I get ready to, as I've been working on my campaign and getting ready to serve the community as a counselor. Affordable housing is a big emergency. It's a big thing that we all need to work together to solve. I look forward to collaborating with the counselors to move forward on the momentum that's already been created. I'm very grateful. I've been able to go to all the city council meetings since May of this year. So I would like to echo that, yes, there has been a lot of work done and we have a lot more work to do. I want to make sure that we are exploring some of the things that the fellow candidates have mentioned today. We need to build on what we've done, changing the zoning, looking at how can we help ADUs be a better part of the solution. How can we attract more apartments to be built here in our city? We need places that people can afford so that we can have workers that provide the services that we all need to have a thriving community. And I also look forward to the Habitat for Humanity project. I hope that that is very successful. And I look forward to supporting that as well. Thank you.
And Patrick, do you want me to repeat the question? You're muted. You're still muted.
How's that?
Better. Okay,
All
you're
right.
on.
So sorry, it's a little bit of a delay. I'm actually on the East Coast right now at a union conference. So, or labor conference. No, I think the city is moving in the right direction on the housing issues. One of the things I believe that we should look at doing is incorporating a little bit more land around us, because the footprint of Sequim is so small that we can incorporate some land areas around us and then utilize those for multi-living units to build the workforce housing, workforce apartments. I think that's imperative to move forward. Our land and our city footprint is relatively small. So we are running out of areas to put this that are reasonable. And I think that's what the people in Sequim are looking for, is we need to look at maybe incorporating some more land areas. And then the other thing I would really like to champion is looking at how much it costs to hook up to water and sewage in our city is almost 5 times more than the surrounding communities. And if we can bring those costs down, that'll bring the cost of housing down and hopefully help with those areas that we need to improve. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And Patrick, stay with us because you're number 1 for the next question.
Okay.
So the next question is, earlier this year, the city council pledged $250,000 for a new career technical education center. Excuse me, but the state did not provide the match. So the question is 2 parts. Do you agree with the city council's action? If so, why or why not? And the second half is, what do you believe the city council should do to support local economic development and jobs?
Thank you for the question. I think that's a very important question. I do believe what they're doing, we need to move forward on that. Here at the conference, we have 4,800 union reps from across the nation. One of the things they are talking about is how we need more service-related training, and that they're not doing that very widely here in the US. It's becoming a big thing in Europe. But so moving forward, commit more money if we have to that community, and then look at adding, I think Ms. Downer talked about adding more school to where we can help the schools produce vocational programs within the school system. When I went to high school, we had electronics, we had auto, we had wood, we had plumbing. Those were great tools. And those career fields are dying for people to get in there and work. And we need to kind of talk to our youngsters about that. I have a daughter in high school right now. Those are good paying jobs and they are in dire need. So they need to start understanding those are actual well-paying jobs that we need to start looking at training people for and helping the school process and helping the city do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, now the next person up will be William Armacost, followed by Kathy Downer, and then followed by Jim Black. So Mr. Armacost, you're up. Do you want me to repeat the question?
No, I'm good to go. Thank you.
Okay.
I was very supportive of the pledge that we made for the Career Technical Education Center. Unfortunately, as we know, there were a lot of moving parts there, and unfortunately, the funding from Olympia did not materialize. I agree, coming from a background of an immigrant family, my grandfather immigrated from Ireland, we are in need of technical skills in addition to those with a college degree. I think the opportunity, as we all find with the challenges with carpenters, electricians, plumbers, auto repair, et cetera, there's a real need for more people going into those fields. The area concerning the economics and jobs, one of the benefits that we have had in hiring our new city manager is Mr. Hewish brings a huge background of business to the plate. One of the things that we did in the very beginning was we invited our top developers and contractors in the area to discuss with them how we can streamline the permitting process so that we can expedite their efforts to actually put shovels in the dirt and build housing. We also have implemented an apprentice program that we have taken interns through the summer months who will potentially become candidates for new hires as they finish their degree. So we have a lot of opportunity, both in working directly with the people that are going to build these housing, as well as looking down the future of where we're going to secure further employees to work in the city.
Thank you. And Kathy Downer, you are next, followed by Jim Black. Do you want me to repeat the question? You're on mute. You're still muted. Can't hear you.
Now, can you hear me?
Yes.
It's a strange prompt. It says ask to unmute, but you
Okay.
can't hear me. Anyway, never mind. I had mixed feelings about supporting the pledge for the school district. The school district has a separate pot of money. People vote for school levies and bonds for specific reasons. People pay taxes to the city for city services like water and sewer and sidewalks and streets. I did vote for it, but in the future, we will wait for the school district to come back to us to ask again for that. They came to a meeting 4 weeks after we voted on it and released us from our pledge at that time because they did not get the matching funds. I think what the city could consider doing is maybe pledging not just money, but pledging a combination of cash and job training to have the people, the students and or adults work with the city workers on certain jobs that OSHA would say would be okay for them to be on the site for, like the city water department, the city sewer department, when they build a separate building on the high school campus. Also, I've never lived any place in the country where a county had more than one technical career center. I know we have one in Port Angeles. I'm not sure why people don't attend that because there is a bus to get you there. I will have to look into that more. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You. And so next we have Jim Black, followed by Dan Butler, and then Harmony. So Jim, do you want me to repeat the question?
I've got it.
Okay.
I do support the CTE concept. I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and it was an industrial town when I grew up, more so than it is today. And they had a high school on the south side of town that had 2,500 boys, and it was all trades, and it was fantastic. But the big difference was there was a lot of industry there, and industry supported that. If we had a CTE program here, I think that would be great. I'm just concerned about the ongoing costs of that, but we can figure that out. The other question I just had about that was that I know that the CTE in Port Angeles had some issues with it in the past, and whatever issues they had, I think we just need to look at that and make sure that we don't have the same issues and we can circumvent whatever problems they had. I think training, like I have two boys, and my boys were in Cisco networking program, and I think they had that in high school for 3 years, and it was amazing. When they got out of high school, they could be Cisco network engineers, and it was fantastic. And I think we can do that in our schools and pursue those kinds of things as well. The other thing, last thing, I guess I think is important, streamlining permitting is good. I agree with that completely to attract businesses here. But lastly, I think we have to take a long-term view with training and make sure we train our young people so that whether they stay here or move on, we move them along. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Dan, you're next, followed by Harmony.
Thank you. And I've got the question. I would be supportive of the CTE. I'm sorry to see that didn't work out for reasons out of Olympia that had nothing to do particularly with Sequim or the city council. but I appreciate the council's support of that. As has been said by other candidates, it's essential that we provide technical training to our students and not just focus on university preparation. In terms of economic development, I'd like to explore what infrastructure Sequim needs to become as attractive to investment in economic development as it is to those of us who choose to retire here. It appears we've evolved away from primarily agricultural-based economy to a largely service-based economy with a significant layer of seasonal tourism. Some ideas that I think are worth exploring is a stronger backbone of high-speed internet capacity that our local internet service providers could tap into, provide better options to their customers at less cost. Streets and sidewalks that allow for a more bicycle and pedestrian-friendly environment. Collaboration with Clallam Transit and Jefferson Transit to increase the capacity of our already excellent public transportation network. And then collaboration with our sister cities in the North Olympic Peninsula and the county and the state to encourage a viable commercial air link. Thank you.
Thank you. And Harmony, so you're the last person for this question, and then when you're done, hang in there because you're the first person for the next question. Okay?
Great, thank you. So for me, yes, I would absolutely support the CTE pledge as a city councilor if it comes back to us. I want to acknowledge, as other candidates have said, that there would be challenges to the funding this that kind of an endeavor, but I believe that we are a very creative group, and we would be working with our local partners and the schools to make sure that we were exploring all the options for keeping it funded and tapping into our community. I want to echo a lot of what Dan Butler just said about how we need to make sure that we are increasing the the access in our community for higher speed internet access and more more access to other industries to bring their work here and to increase that. I also want to notice that our local economy relies heavily on the beauty of our natural resources. And I think that safeguarding our natural resources is a huge part of maintaining our economic thriving economically here in our region. So thank you very much for the question.
Thank you. Okay. So now for the next question, Harmony, you're first.
Okay.
All right. And it is, recently, there's federal legislation that passed which provides substantial local funding opportunities for climate change mitigation. So it's a two-part question. Do you believe we face climate risks here on the Olympic Peninsula? And if you could give us a couple reasons behind your answer. And the second part is, would you favor trying to access federal funding on this issue? So you're on for 90 seconds. And wait a minute, then and Patrick, be ready, you're next, and then it'll be William Armacost. Okay, Harmony, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Norma. Yes, we are absolutely in the middle of a climate crisis. That is the challenge of our time. I think a lot about what the next 30 years is going to look like. And I have a lot of hope, because I have hope in our communities coming together and building coalitions and collaborating on how we're going to take care of the earth and to be guardians of our resources, because that is a huge part of what makes the Olympic Peninsula so valuable and thriving economically. People flock here to come and enjoy the Olympic National Park and the Dungeness, and it's we need to do everything we can to make sure that we are protecting protecting the environment and making sure that the salmon and all the work that's been done on the LWA continues to be successful, and working to make sure that our watersheds are healthy and that we have forests that support the water resources for our region. And I want to make sure that that I build on all of the wonderful things that Sequim is doing. We have a water reclamation facility and a LEED certified building, and so much in our sustainable Sequim document. Thank you very much. As you can tell, climate's it's something I'm very passionate about. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so Patrick, you're next, followed by William Armacost, and after that is Kathy Downer. So Patrick, do you want me to repeat the question?
No, I'm good. Thank you very much. I actually just had a class on this here at the IFEBP. Yeah, we're facing a lot of concerns within the climate and doing things. As a small community, we are limited on what we can do, but we should participate. And if we can get funding to help strengthen up our infrastructure for electric charging stations, because we don't have any of those that can do the job around us. So yes, if we can get federal funding for that, I'm all for that, because our natural resources are limited. They are not making more land. We have the land we have, and that's it. So we have to look after it. But we are so small. I think where we really need to do is petition the people in Olympia and have them petition the people in Washington to do more on a global, because there's other people out there, other countries, that no matter what we do here, we have to participate, but we have to get these other countries to participate in global, changing their global climate issues that they have. So yes, there's a lot we need to do. We're small. We need to do what we can, but we really need to be a voice for change in Olympia to force them to fight for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so next is William Armacost, followed by Kathy Downer, and then followed by Jim Black.
Thank you. I think it's obvious one of our biggest charms on the Olympic Peninsula is the Olympic National Park. It is a significant magnet that draws people from around the world. And I believe in the 40 years that I've been living here, we have been good stewards of that land. We are very conscious of moving forward, of trying to leave it in a better condition than when we found it. One of the things that I think it's a small step, but we recently, the previous council, we approved and we had solar panels installed on top of our civic center. That is a very strong, positive direction that we're moving forward in. I also have the pleasure of serving on the board of Column Transit Systems. We have continued to apply for all electric buses, but regrettably in my tenure, I first became a board member in 2018. We have received 0 grants for all electric buses. But the good news, moving forward, the trend has shifted nationwide away from all electric because of the limitation of their route capacity to a hydrogen electric. They convert the hydrogen into electric. We create a longer range and a more viable resource that we can continue to grow, be conscious of our impact, of the carbon impact on our environment, and still be able to serve the needs of our residents. We have 2 great home runs with the transit, the straight shot commuting to Bainbridge to Seattle, as well as the Hurricane Ridge service.
Thank you. And Kathy Downer, you're next, followed by Jim Black. So Kathy, do you want me to repeat the question? You're muted. There you go. Okay. Excuse me, I didn't get your answer. Did you want me to repeat the question?
Yes, repeat the question, please.
Okay. Do you believe we face climate risks on the Olympic Peninsula? If so, please explain your reasoning. And then also, would you favor trying to access federal funding on this issue? The federal funding that gives you an opportunity for climate change mitigation.
Yes, I do think that we are, the entire Earth is threatened by climate crisis. You cannot just have one city. It's the water and the air that we breathe. It's obvious that the climate over the years has changed. The water's becoming warmer in the ocean. Our storms are worse. It's very obvious that we are entering a climate crisis, and maybe we have been in one for a while. I am all for applying for and using federal funding to fight this situation. The city of Sequim already has electric car charging stations. We could use more. We already have downtown recycling. We already have water reclamation. We already have encourage people to do curbside recycling, and then you can evergreen towing will take your glass recyclables. I think that when Councillor Amercost mentioned the hydrogen to electric, hydrogen is obtained by fracking. I am very much against fracking, but if the hydrogen liquid is obtained in a different manner, that would be great to use. The only thing is the state of Washington does not allow it to be transported into the state of Washington at this time until it could be done safely. And then at that time, we can use hydrogen power. All electric buses are great, but their range is not big enough for a county the size of Clallam. They have a 400-mile limit, and they would not be able to service a large enough area at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. And so now we have Jim Black followed by Dan Butler. Do you want me to repeat the question?
Nope, I've got it.
All right.
I think that the good news, I think, in Clallam County is listening to the PUD and what they've accomplished. I think we're ahead of the game. The Clallam County PUD says that we're 98% electric generated by hydroelectric power, which is great. And the state has mandated electric generation and goals by the year 2030. And the PUD says we're well on our way to achieving those goals. For the federal funding, yeah, absolutely. Anytime we get funding to support these efforts, we should do that. One thing I just want to make sure that I would be aware of, making sure we spend that money wisely. I think I heard that there are issues with electric buses, and we're early in that game. I know in Jackson, Wyoming, they bought buses from a company that made the parts for the buses, and that company has gone bankrupt already, so they can't use the 8 buses that they spent. So we just have to be careful about that. And the hydrogen electric, that I think that's a great idea. We have to navigate as we've heard there. And again, recycling, we're doing that well. Solid waste management is being done well. And the public transportation, I think we're right on track with some of that stuff. The other thing that's an advantage is that we're in an area where we don't have the population like they do in Seattle. So we have fewer people driving relatively, and that helps us all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So Dan, you're up for this question, and then stay with us because you're the first one for the next question. Do you want me to repeat the question?
Oh, thank you. I think I'm okay.
Okay.
And the quick answer is yes and yes. To expand on that, I think as Kathy Downer said, we've have evidence all around us of increased impact on storms. We know more today about the impact of the activity of 8 billion people on this planet on our environment than we did a decade ago. And we'll know more in a decade than we know today. So I'm interested in policy discussions that are centered on what decisions we make now based on what we know and all we can do as individuals and as a community. Take what we know and lean into what's emerging into the future. The city needs to continue its excellent work on the framework laid out in the document titled Sustainable Sequim that Harmony referenced. It needs to be continuously refreshed as new technologies emerge and continuously referred to in policy discussions in the City Planning Commission as well as in the City Council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So Dan, you're first for the next question. You'll be followed by Harmony and then Patrick. So the next question is, the city of Sequim is proposing to spend $163,000 on human and community services in the next year, which is less than 1.3% of your projected general revenues. According to the Association of Washington Cities, cities on average spend 4% on this field. So the question is, should Sequim be spending more on human and community services? Why or why not? So you're on for 90 seconds.
Yes, thank you. The city needs to be spending more. It's a really classic example of the old oil filter advertisement of you pay me now or you pay me later. The current crisis we have with human services is systemic to our national policy, and Sequim is not the source of the problem, and the solution won't be solved in Sequim. I'm learning, continuing to learn that I need to check my language when I speak of people that are less privileged than I am. And I have a tendency to lump them into a class of people and then talk about them rather than us. If I discipline myself to speak of people who do not have shelter, for example, it centers the person rather than the problem. And that encourages me to become curious about the individual. What is their story? What resources did I have access to at critical points in my life, from my childhood and family of origin to my present situation? I work at St. Luke's Episcopal Church 4 mornings a week, and I've had several opportunities to engage in conversation with individuals we find sleeping under our covers around the building. I've yet to meet someone who has been making a deliberate choice to live without shelter. Each one has a story. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and Harmony, you're next, followed by Patrick. Do you want me to repeat the question?
No, thank you, Norma, and thank you for bringing that question. It's a very important topic. I believe that we should be spending more. Again, I believe that we have a super professional Sequim City Council and a very dedicated and professional Sequim City staff. I think that it would be a great honor and a great challenge to work with the local organizations, and there are many in our region that are engaged in working with folks that need more support to have their needs met. And I will be first to admit that I'm very, very lucky that I have a lot of family on the peninsula, and that through my family, I am able to have my needs met. I also have some wonderful, I also enjoy working in my community, and I'm very grateful for my employers. And I know that through all of that, I am very grateful and have my needs met. So it is my duty, if I am elected as a spokesperson for this community, to make sure that we are showing up to provide services to those who need it. Like I said, there's so many excellent organizations out there, and I really look forward to working with them. One that jumps to the top of my mind that is in Sequim that I want to learn more about is the Shipley Center, and I'd love to explore more how we can be better partners with them. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, and Patrick, you are next, and you're going to be followed by William Armacost and then Kathy Downer. Okay, Patrick.
Thank you for that question. I believe that is a very important issue, and I know that our council members and candidates right now are talking about the human aspect of it, and I agree those are areas that we need to explore and working hand in hand with parties out there. But the other aspect that we really need to look at is on the civic side. We need to look at building stuff, more infrastructure for our children. We need more things for our kids to do so they stay out of trouble and they have things to do and they build their minds and their experiences. The homeless issue is a national issue, and I probably have a little bit better viewpoint. I ran the methadone clinic inside the prison, so I dealt with the clinicians and I learned a lot about the different problems that the people that have drug and alcohol issues deal with. And one of the things that still is not being dealt with within that community is the mental health aspect that goes with it. Because what even the clinicians were shocked to find out was 80% of the people that had drug and alcohol issues had mental health issues and they were self-medicating. So once they started doing both of them, they had about a 70% increase in recovery rates. But that's something that's going to be outside our scope, but we need to look at also. Thank you very much for the question.
Thank you. And so William Armacost is next, followed by Kathy Downer and then Jim Black.
Thank you. I'm very passionate about the human in the community. I was part of the original members of the Sequim Health and Housing Collaborative, which was a way of organizing all of our nonprofits into one organizing group. As you can imagine, as we continue to face the national problem that's happening at a very rapid pace of homelessness, drug addiction, and mental health is a big tackle that we need to address. I personally have been working in our community of Sequim and Clallam County, with people with addiction, both with alcohol and drugs. So I know firsthand how our community in the recovery side is working. I'm also a member of the advisory board on the Jamestown Clallam Healing Center, the clinic. We have seen some remarkable results with that addition to our community. They are having success that nowhere in the country is able to meet those numbers. We are in a community of a lot of very generous people that have a heart and a passion for a hand up versus a hand out. We know if we can dig through the onion, peel the onion, if you will, to find the source of why they use drugs or alcohol, we can start to solve the problem. With the money of being 3 to 4%, during the pandemic, the city put all of their capital improvement projects and their transportation improvement projects on hold. So I believe that's a factor of the 3 versus the 4% that you referred to. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy Downer, followed by Jim Black.
Could you please, Norma, repeat the question?
Sure. The city of Sequim is proposing to spend $163,000 on human and community services in the coming year, which is less than 1.3% of Sequim's projected fund revenues for the same year. According to the Association of Washington Cities on average spend about 4% in this category of their expenditures. So the question is, should Sequim be spending more in human and community services? Why or why not?
Okay, well, I do not think we need to spend much more on community services. I think that when the city formed the Sequim Health and Housing Collaboration, that was a good thing to identify the agencies that had good histories and written histories of what they did with the money. And they paid an auditor, they tracked the money. That money has been increased the last 2 years, thanks to Councillor Rathbun. It was his idea. He actually wanted much more, but the city is obliged to spend city taxes on services for the citizens. Streets, sidewalks, clean water, sewer, parks, anything like that. There's nothing wrong with giving money to other agencies, but it would be better to work in collaboration with other agencies, help them writing grants, help them by writing letters of support and finding things for them that they need at that time. And I know this sounds harsh, but that's how I feel about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and so Jim Black, and you're the last one for this question, and then stay with us because you'll be the first one for the next question.
Okay. Yeah, as far as the percentage is concerned, I think that's relevant in that we need to spend what's appropriate in terms of what's effective and what we're doing out there. As I said in my opening statement, I have a big concern about people who are drug addicted and mentally ill, and the part that's always missing to me is getting them back to work, getting them help, helping them get trained, and then helping them get back to work for whoever can. I know there are nonprofits out there. One of them I found out this month was called Oxford House. And those people are very effective in what they're doing. They're helping people work and they're working together. I also have a heart for training young people and helping them get going early on in their lives. I was a scoutmaster for 8 years, and that's what our job was, to help those guys accomplish something big, so that as they move on, they're not afraid to do those things. The nonprofits, again, I think we need to analyze those and prioritize those and figure out which ones are the most effective in the scheme of what we're doing. And we want to help people become self-sufficient. One last thing in the scheme of things, I think we need to, for things that we can't do, we need to push back on the state and have them pay for things or take responsibility for the things that small communities can't do. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next question, Jim, you're up first, and then you'll be followed by Dan Butler and Harmony. The question is, the city is required by state law to update the comprehensive plan. So the question is, what do you believe should be included in the upcoming update
Of the comprehensive plan.
of the comprehensive plan? Yes.
Yeah, I'll have to admit, I don't know the details of the comprehensive plan and all the details that are in it. I think, again, my focus is concerned about services here to help a problem with the drug addiction and the mental health issues, to the extent that now we won't solve the problem, but I mean, addressing that problem in a way that'll least affect the rest of us in the community. I've seen it destroy, towns. San Francisco is a mess, and Seattle's a mess, and Portland's a mess, and a small city like Sequim doesn't have that kind of money to deal with that if that gets out of hand. And again, my concern with schools, and one more thing with the schools, I think we have to make schools attractive to people who want to move here. I don't think the schools have the ratings of other places in the state, and we need to focus on that, because then if we do, then people will bring their kids here because they'll be glad that they're going to the Sequim schools and they can take advantage of that. And because if they don't, they won't move here. So yeah, I guess that's what I would have to add to that. Thanks.
Thank you. So Dan Butler, you're up next for the same question, and then you'll be followed by Harmony.
Thanks, Norma. Working on the Planning Commission, I'm becoming increasingly familiar with the master plan. And Sequim is coming to the end of its 10-year master plan, and the process of starting discussions for the next 10-year plan is underway. The master plan drives investment priorities for infrastructure, both financial investment, what roads, what sewer, what water, et cetera, and human investment. What do we need to add staff to, or this specific expertise in order to accomplish the plan? It guides our compliance with county, state, and federal standards as well. So the next city council will develop and eventually approve the 2025 to 2035 master plan for the city. Probably the most important part of that process initially will be the community stakeholder communication process that's going to be essential in order to demonstrate a transparent process and establish equitable priorities. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and Harmony, you're next.
Thank you very much, Norma. I am looking for, if I am elected, if I am selected by the voters of Sequim, I look forward to being a voice in this process as we review the comprehensive plan. I believe that we should be adding climate resilience to, or thinking about how we can be a resilient community in the face of a changing climate, that those be parts of what we include. I want to thank Dan Butler for bringing his expertise from the Planning Commission, and if elected, I hope that you're also elected, Dan, and I would love to collaborate with you and on the investment priorities, how we're going to change our staff, work on making a guide for our community. And I'm very, very passionate about civic engagement and hearing from folks. So I really hope that everybody shows up for community stakeholder events. I also remembered something that I wanted to bring about climate. And since I have almost 30 seconds, I'm going to go ahead and launch into this. I believe that water is going to be a very, very scarce resource in our future. So as water becomes more scarce, I think that as a city, I'd like to help us figure out how we can go for that federal funding to retrofit our landscapes so that they use little to no water at all, but they can still be beautiful. We can look into offering rebates to our citizens for replacing their lawns with drought-tolerant plants. And luckily, lavender is one of many plants on the list of drought-tolerant plants. So yes,
Carmody.
thank you very much.
Okay, and Patrick, you're next, followed by William Armacost and then Kathy Downer.
Thank you very much for the question, Norma. And I appreciate Dan's input because I do agree with certain things that Dan brought up dealing with the infrastructure. One of the things I do think we need to look at is including growth in economics, trying to entice other companies, high-speed internet. We need to get more on board with the high-speed internet. We are so far lacking in that area. You will never get any big companies to bring well-paying jobs into the community or the county without high-speed internet. Everyone's on the internet now. So that has to be a focus of our city council. And how do we entice people to come in and do that? Everything else, come on, the last 10-year plan we had did not foresee the pandemic. So we're always going to have some things that come up that weren't expected. And we need to have a grand plan that's flexible to where we can move and shift if we have to into other areas. I hate to disagree with you, Harmony, about the water issue. I was in Saudi Arabia where they have desalination plants all over the place. I think they're a great tool. We don't do it here enough in the United States. We have an abundance of water right there on the coast. And I think that's an area maybe we need to look at. But yeah, there's a lot of things we do need to do, but that having the growth for the budget for the economy should be number one. Thank you very much.
Thank you. William Armacost, you're next, and then it'll be Kathy Downer.
Thank you. With our comprehensive plan, as you know, it's a 10-year bookmark. And one of the challenges we've had is everything was put on hold during the pandemic. As a city, our primary responsibility is to provide clean water, good sewer systems, clean roads, in a safe environment that we can live. That is an area that fortunately Sequim has been very forward in their thinking. When it comes to water, we are in the process of actually drilling a 4th well at our Silverhorn location that will go to a 3rd aquifer. We're looking at a 480 feet deep well that will provide an abundance of opportunity of growth as we're moving forward. Where we currently sit, we have enough production, gallons per minute of water, that we are being very positive to forecasting out to 2045. So in that area, we're in very strong condition. We have the responsibility not only to provide the transparency, but during the hiring process of Manager Hewish, we went to our stakeholders and allowed them to actually have a voice in making the decision when we hired him. We will continue to be transparent in all that we do, but the forward thinking is creating the infrastructure that is strong and sound, and also planning for the future that we can be resilient with those precious natural resources. Thank you.
Thank you. So Kathy Downer, you're the last one for this question, then stay with us because you're the first one for the next question.
Awesome. Thank you. The comprehensive plan is a huge undertaking. One of our city leaders, Charisse Deschaines, is already working on it. They form committees, they get input from citizens. They look back and see what was in the plan, what worked and what didn't work. For example, it ties together many different plans: transportation, capital improvement. And speaking of capital improvement, I live out West Sequim Bay Road. It doesn't have the infrastructure of drainage and sidewalks. It has ditches on each side. It is not pedestrian safe. It is not bicyclist safe. It is a little country road that all of a sudden has had a lot built on it. The John Wayne Marina being at one end and new housing tracts all along and more coming in on this West Sequim Bay Road. So that will be taken into consideration when they do the plan. we would like to see sidewalks. The neighbors have been told that we will probably get an asphalt path, which I think is a good compromise. And eventually that will be more built up in along the side of the road in the future. But I think the comprehensive plan covers everything, what they're going to do with the taxes, what they aren't going to do, what they're going to do with the parks. And it's a wonderful thing. It's not very exciting, but sit down and read it sometime. It's very, very informative. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and now the last question is, our youth, which is defined as people under age 25, are also the future of the community, and in all likelihood will be the driving force for future development. So if elected, what will you do to provide meaningful opportunities for the youth in Sequim?
Oh, I would think that we could give them, we already have free transportation on our buses, at least in Port Angeles, for those 18 and under to go to Peninsula College. I would like to see everyone under the age of 25 in Sequim get free transportation. That way they can get to work, they can get to school, they can go visit people. And I think that they are the voters of the future, that we would take them under our wing and teach them civics and government, encourage them to do volunteer work for the city. They have ideas. They have ideas, you know, I'm not young anymore. The young people under the age of 25 are growing up in a very different world. We didn't have internet, or we didn't even have cable TV when we were young. So they are growing up in a much different world, and we can actually learn from them. So I think that it's always exciting to see Boy Scouts or high school kids come to a city council meeting as a class assignment and then sit there, and you can tell that they're really listening to what's going on. And I think that's important, that we keep the next generation engaged in civics and government. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next one up is Jim Black, followed by Dan Butler. Excuse me.
Let's see here. Am I muted here?
Nope, you're fine.
Oh, good. Okay. I agree. I mean, the more programs we have for kids, the better. And I think because we've got them in school already, we need to be more creative. And I don't know if the school, I don't know if the city council can, I guess, just push the city for more programs for kids. Like I said, I was a scoutmaster for troop for 8 years, and that was one opportunity. It's not for all kids, but it's for some. I think modern training for, like I said, computing training, things like that are good for kids, because it gives them a heads up on and a pathway for something for some kids that could do that. Exposure to more lifelong skills, it's a no-lose situation. And volunteer work, I agree with what Kathy said. Yeah, more volunteer work is great for younger kids, because it humbles them, and they get to learn more about the world. Yeah, so I guess I agree with all of that, and that's my statement.
Thank you. So next up is Dan Butler, followed by Harmony, and then Patrick.
Thank you. Yeah, if I was in Harmony's position with a couple of young kids, I'd be quite concerned. The demographics of Sequim are filled with people of our age who are concerned, have very different concerns at this point in life. And we tend to overlook, or at least not prioritize, the needs of the young people that are coming up, that will provide the services and carry on the legacy that is being created here. I think in addition to volunteer opportunities, perhaps we could look at actual paid internship opportunities through the various departments in city service. So the sort of things that Jim and Patrick have described in terms of practical skills that could be taught and learned by experience could perhaps be on the job. Other than that, I've got nothing else to add.
Thank you. Your next, Harmony.
Thank you, Norma, and thank you for bringing this question. I am very passionate about this. I think that The next generation is going to be awesome. I am living with two members of them, two members of it right now. And I learn so much from them every single day. I love my kids, 5 and 7, and they just so full of life. I would love to reach out to our community and partners and build a community event, work on community events that engage our families and our young people with the various organizations. I'd love to build on the momentum of the Sequim Rally in the Alley. And actually, the next one is coming up on October 14th. So this month, the city of Sequim partners with Habitat for Humanity of Clallam County and Olympic Disposal. And I think that is just such a powerful thing for folks to get out in the community and work on creating good energy. I'm a member of a local community organization that believes very strongly in civics and getting engaged with the community. We have a group of volunteers that go out and do highway pickup. We have to also support our local schools and partner with them to create great events. So it's going to be great. The next generation's awesome. Thank you.
Okay. And Patrick?
Thank you very much, Norma. I think that's an excellent question, especially since I myself have a 16-year-old daughter currently in the high school system, and I have a 25-year-old daughter who just got out of the Navy as a nuclear propulsion specialist. So yes, it kind of scares me somewhat with the conditions, the way they are right now, and we do need to do more. I think Kathy brought up an excellent thing with getting the buses from 18, raising it to 25. Especially for people 25 and below that are going to college and they need that ride, because they need the help. There's not a lot out there. Unfortunately, we need more workforce housing, though, to really help that along also. I actually got done talking last week with a congressman over some of the issues facing our children. And one of the things we really need to look at, and this is starting, unfortunately, it's in the schools, and as a city, we can't do anything. But talking about 401s, compound interest, and getting people to understand it is so important to start at a young age. I got my labor side coming out in me and my union side. I really preach that to all my members. But it's important. I showed my daughter when she was 16, my oldest, the difference between put money in at 20 and put money in at 30. Right now, she's 25 and she's been maxed out on her 401 since she was 18. So those are things I think will help our communities down the road. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And Mr. Armacost, same question.
Great. Thank you. I think we really have to take a strong look at apprenticeships. We have had an opportunity in our country historically to mentor and apprentice in a lot of our trades. And I believe that is an opportunity that will get our younger folks, get a chance to have some hands-on experience. As I referenced in the city, we have an apprenticeship program that we utilize young college students through the summer program. I'm also a member of the Economic Development Council, and we have been currently working on grants through a movement called PTAC, where we're targeting good wage-paying jobs, $26 an hour plus benefits. The unfortunate reality, currently speaking, we have over 900 jobs through workforce that are not being filled. We've all seen the help wanted signs throughout the county and within our city. And during the pandemic, we've created an anomaly that for whatever reason, people are not actively going and pursuing those jobs. I think the opportunity for our youth, the sky is the limit. They are our future, and we need to be strong in investing and encouraging them to take this opportunity and run with it. We have an amazingly generous community that I believe the apprentice program is a positive one. Civics is another area that we choose not to teach in school today. I was asked when I was mayor to speak to one of our private schools on civic to a third grade class. It was fascinating, their questions and their interest in civic government. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're on to thank all of you for acknowledging the time limits. You did wonderfully well. Now we're on to summary comments. And as I mentioned, we do things in reverse order. So you'll get 90 seconds for your summary comments. And we're going to start with Patrick, go up to Harmony, and then up to Dan Butler, Jim Black, William Armacost, and Kathy Downer. So we'll start with Patrick.
Thank you very much. Like I said, this is a very unique, this is my second time running for city council, and I was shocked at some of the things because I was new that got labeled on me and the civility that seems to not be there when we had some meetings. I've met Kathy, I've met Harmony, looked like Harmony had a little company there for a minute. But everyone's good people and we can all come together and find common ground. But unfortunately, there's people out there that don't want to find that common ground. I've put out 25 signs and every one of them have been taken down. I don't know where they're at. So that's disheartening because I'm funding my own campaign. And that kind of stuff, I had a lady just start berating me at a meet and greet. And I asked her, well, have we talked before? And she said, no, I don't need to talk to you. You're one of them. And I'm like, one of what? If you haven't talked to me, at least give me the opportunity to tell you a little bit about me. I love helping people and helping communities. I've been an activist for so long. I've been a public servant for so long. It was kind of disheartening that to see how partisan this race has actually become, because I'm a very moderate person right down the middle. I'm willing to listen to everybody. And that's where I want to bring back to the community. I know it was like that at one time. We need to get back to that. And I would appreciate your vote for this next election. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And next, Harmony, your summary.
Thank you, Norma. Patrick, I am so sad to hear that all the signs that you have put up have disappeared. That's really, really unfortunate. I would call on our community to rise to a new level of civility and care and empathy and just common decency. I would like everybody in this election season to come together and do all the things that I just mentioned. So yes, civility and common decency. So let's please leave the signs where they are. Let's be polite to each other. I had a really great time getting to talk to all the candidates, talking to you, Patrick, and all the other folks that are running, and at the meet and greet event we had. And I would love to collaborate with everybody to build a better future. I am very passionate about the future of this region. And yes, my daughter was sitting on my lap here for just a second. They just got back from their after school activities with Papa Bear. So I'm looking forward to spending some time with them, but I've also been very grateful to spend some time with all of you this evening. I would be honored to represent this community. If you have more questions, please visit my website, www.harmonyrudder.com, and I would be honored by your support. Thank you.
Thank you. And Dan Butler, your summary comment.
Thank you. As I've been involved in this campaign, I've become aware of how many people are concerned about the governance of Sequim that live outside the city limits and can't vote. I deeply appreciate several who have contributed to my campaign regardless. I've learned that decisions that are made by the city council and the culture that is built within the legal boundaries of the city impact a much wider community. So working in collaboration with the county, the city of Port Angeles, the Jamestown Squamish tribe needs to be of high value for the council. I'm at the end of a 43-year career working for a faith-based nonprofit in various global leadership positions. We've been remarkably privileged to serve through leadership marginalized and often oppressed communities in diverse situations. As we move toward retirement here in Sequim, that privilege continues. I enjoy my part-time position at St. Luke's Episcopal Church and the opportunity that provides for practical service into the community. This is a beautiful city and a truly unique environment. As I approach the opportunity to serve the city council, I look forward to a chance to listen, to increase my understanding, to seek consensus, and contribute to excellence in the governance of SQUIM. And I thank you for your vote.
Thank you. And Jim Black, you're next, followed by William Armacost.
Thanks. Well, this has been very informative for me. A couple things. One is I've always believed, and I'm old enough to remember when, when people are polarized, that in when my earlier years, that people would meet in the middle and everyone would win something, everyone would lose something, but at least we would move forward. And at least with the discussion I'm hearing tonight, I'm hearing a lot of that, and I appreciate that, because that's where we need to be. We need to move forward. The other word that kind of comes to mind with all the discussion tonight is pathways, and we need pathways for so many things. I started with my opening statement saying we need pathways for people in distress and to get them back into society. But after listening tonight, in terms of training, internships, volunteering, scouting, foreign studies, apprenticeships, those are all pathways for our young folk to get going in life. And I think we all agree on that. And I think that's fantastic, because that's where we need to go. For me personally, I look forward. I would love to be on the city council because I've had experience with successful teams and collaboration and coming up with creative ideas for helping the community, running a troop, building software, et cetera, et cetera. And I think there's so many ideas coming from the city council. We can work together and come up with good things for SQUIM. So thanks so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. And so next, William Armacost, followed by Kathy Downer.
My campaign is focused on unity and community. Our most vulnerable and precious citizens are our children. We are having a historical invasion on our southern border, bringing millions of fentanyl pills into North America that ends up on the streets of the Olympic Peninsula. Our police need to be fully supported and drug policies enforced with pathways to treatment. I am a member of the advisory board for the Jamestown Column Healing Clinic, addressing the opioid crisis. The Jamestown Clinic has exceeded my expectations by creating a solution with pathways to treatment for those who are serious about restoring themselves into society. With a recent meeting with Mr. Ron Allen, I quote, "William, I'm glad you're on the city council. Unity and community in action." The city of SQUIM is not an isolated entity, but exists in context of a larger local community. As your member of the city council, I will represent you first, and I will never back away from a fight when the good of the people of SQUIM is at stake. Thank you for this opportunity, and I appreciate your vote.
Thank you. And Kathy?
Hi, I did forget at the beginning to really introduce myself. I was a nurse for 43 years. I retired from nursing the day after I got elected to city council in Ohio. I served 3 terms. We retired to SQUIM. I did not move here to change it. I love SQUIM. It's a very awesome place to live. But I would like to address some earlier comments. Home sharing, also called the Silver Nest program, is not dangerous. We have an Olympic area agency on aging. They screen the renter and they screen the homeowner that may have an extra room. This prevents homelessness for recently widowed people who cannot get by without their spouse's income. And also we have a youth liaison on city council who does not get to vote, but she does share her teenage viewpoint on things. And we cannot expand SQUIM's borders. Otherwise, we would have made Bell Hill come into the city to get city water and sewer. It's against the law in the state of Washington at this time. When the person who said that the drug addicted or people with mental health issues can qualify or need job training, many people that with mental health issues and or drug addiction are not going to qualify for job training because they are too broken. They also don't qualify for the MAC clinic. It's a different type of treatment for addiction and mental illness. And that being said, thank you very much.
Okay. So thank you very much for all of the candidates. You did a great job. Very responsible and responsive to all the questions, and I'm sure the audience appreciated all that. I want to also thank the audience for tuning in and being involved and interested. This video will be, you can access it in a few days. We're not sure how many days, but in a few days by going to the League website. And you also can access it on the Peninsula Area Public Access. And I don't know about you, but I hadn't heard about that. But if you Google it, you'll find out that that's a local public access that does have videos of local events. And thank you to PAPA, is what it's called, and to the North Olympic Libraries for all their help on putting this together. And remember, the ballots will be mailed out October the 18th. It's almost here, and must be returned by November 7th. Don't forget, if you want to learn, for the audience who want to learn more about the candidates, go to 411.org, where candidates have answered a variety of other questions than what you've heard today. So we're going to conclude and put our video back up, our slideshow, if anybody wants to see it. Meanwhile, thank you all for attending and for being so cooperative, and for the audience, and join the League. Okay, thank you very much.